I died at exactly 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, which was inconvenient because I had a board meeting at 9 the next morning. The truck came out of nowhere, all blinding headlights and screeching metal, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is how Chen's story ends, crushed on a rain-slicked street in downtown Seattle, with my designer suit ruined and my phone still buzzing with emails I'd never answer. Then I opened my eyes to a hand extended toward me, pale and perfect in the darkness, and a voice that sounded like sin and salvation mixed together. Do you want to live? And because I was Chen, heir to Chen Industries, an omega who'd spent 28 years refusing to be weak, refusing to submit, refusing to be anything less than perfect, I took that hand without hesitation. I didn't know that the man attached to it was a 200-year-old demon. I didn't know that saving my life would steal his powers. And I definitely didn't know that 3 weeks later, I'd be in our penthouse bonding with him for life, my heart doing things it had absolutely no business doing. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning, back when I still thought I had control over anything. My life before that night was a carefully constructed performance. I woke up at 5 a.m. every morning, took my heat suppressants with black coffee, and ran 5 miles before the sun came up. By 7, I was showered, dressed in suits that cost more than most people's monthly rent, and reviewing acquisition reports while my assistant James brought me updates on the 17 companies we were in the process of absorbing. Chen Industries wasn't just a corporation. It was an empire built by my grandfather, expanded by my father, and destined to be mine. Except my father had other ideas. He'd remarried after my mother's death, bringing a new omega into our family, Marcus, who was soft and sweet and everything traditional alpha society wanted in an omega mate. They'd had a son together, my half-brother Tyler, who was now 25, presented as an alpha at 15, and was being groomed to take over everything that should have been mine. The fact that I was an omega made me a problem. Omegas weren't supposed to run billion-dollar companies. We were supposed to bond with powerful alphas, have their children, and look beautiful at charity galas. The fact that I'd refused every alpha my father had tried to match me with, that I'd graduated top of my class from Stanford, that I'd personally saved 3 failing subsidiaries and turned them profitable, none of that mattered. I had the wrong designation, and in my father's eyes, that made me fundamentally unsuited for leadership. You need to think about your future, Kai. My father's voice was tired as we sat in his office that Tuesday morning. Rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Seattle skyline. You're 28. You should be bonded by now, settled, thinking about a family. I am thinking about my future, I said, keeping my voice level and professional. The merger with Stellar Tech closes next month. The Singapore expansion is ahead of schedule. The future I'm thinking about involves this company, not some alpha's mansion. Tyler is ready to take on more responsibility. There it was, the real conversation we'd been dancing around for months. Tyler is 25 and just finished his MBA. He has potential, but he's not ready to run a company this size. He's an alpha, Kai. The board trusts him. Our partners trust him. My father looked at me with something that might have been regret or might have been pity. You're brilliant, and I'm proud of everything you've accomplished. But there are limits to what an omega can do in this position. You must see that. What I saw was that I'd wasted the last 6 years of my life proving myself to a man who would never see past my designation. What I saw was that every late night, every sacrifice, every deal I'd closed and crisis I'd managed meant nothing, because I'd been born wrong. I see, I said quietly and stood up. If that's your decision, I'll have my resignation on your desk by Friday. Kai, don't be dramatic. I'm not asking you to resign. You're still family. You'll always have a place here. Just not the place I'd earned. Just not the place I'd bled for. I understand. Excuse me, I have meetings. I walked out of his office with my head high and my hands steady, made it all the way to the executive elevator before the rage hit me. It burned through my chest like acid, hot and bitter and useless. I'd done everything right. I'd been better than everyone else, worked harder, sacrificed more, and it didn't matter. It would never matter. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Mara. Drinks tonight? You sound like you need them. I texted back. How do you know I sound like anything? Because you always need drinks on Merger Tuesdays, and I'm psychic. 8 o'clock, the usual place. The usual place was a bar in Capitol Hill that made excellent old fashions and didn't care that I was an Omega drinking alone. I needed that drink. I needed several of them. And if I was being honest with myself, I needed to do something, anything, that felt like I was still in control of my own life. That night I left the office at 7, which was early for me. The rain had picked up, turning Seattle streets into rivers of reflected neon and headlights. I should have called a car. I always called a car. But I was angry and reckless and tired of being careful. So I decided to walk. The truck came out of nowhere. One moment I was crossing the street, the next I was airborne, my body ragdoll loose and completely helpless. I hit the pavement hard enough to knock the air from my lungs, and there was a second of perfect clarity where I thought, this is stupid. What a stupid way to die. Then the world went dark. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't dead. I was lying on wet pavement with rain falling on my face, and someone was crouched beside me. A man, backlit by streetlights, with a face so beautiful it didn't look real. Sharp cheekbones, full lips, dark eyes that seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. His scent hit me next. Alpha pheromones, so clean and intense, they made my head spin. Sandalwood and something darker, something that made my Omega instincts wake up and pay attention. Do you want to live? His voice was deep and smooth, with an accent I couldn't place. I tried to speak, but my chest hurt too much. I managed a nod instead. Then take my hand. I reached up, my fingers trembling, and when our hands touched, something happened. There was a flash of light, bright and searing, and a feeling like electricity racing through my veins. His eyes went wide, shocked, and then his mouth was on mine. The kiss was brief, desperate, nothing like consent, but somehow not quite like violation either. More like necessity, like a drowning man gasping for air. Heat flooded through me, Omega instincts rising in a way they never had before, and I felt something fundamental shift in my body. Then he pulled back, staring at me with an expression that was pure horror. "What did you do?" he whispered. I sat up slowly, checking myself for injuries. My suit was ruined, my ribs ached, but I was alive. Completely, impossibly alive. I didn't do anything. You kissed me. You shouldn't be alive. That truck, the impact, you should be dead. He stood abruptly, backing away from me. What are you? I'm an Omega with a ruined suit and what's probably going to be spectacular bruising. I got to my feet, swaying slightly. What are you? And what the hell just happened? He didn't answer, just stared at his hands like they'd betrayed him, then at me, then back at his hands. This isn't possible. 200 years, and this has never happened. 200 years? I laughed, slightly hysterical. Did you hit your head? I need to go. He turned to leave. Wait! I don't know why I stopped him. Maybe it was the shock. Maybe it was the way my body was still humming from that kiss, from his scent, from whatever had passed between us. At least tell me your name. You saved my life. He looked back at me, and in the streetlight I saw his eyes clearly for the first time. They were dark brown, almost black, and there was something ancient in them, something that made me believe the impossible. Jax. My name is Jax. Kai, I said. Kai Chen. Something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe, or concern. Go home, Kai Chen. Forget this happened. Forget you ever met me. Then he was gone, moving faster than any human should be able to move, and I was left standing alone in the rain, with the taste of him still on my lips, and absolutely no idea what had just happened to my carefully controlled life. I made it home eventually. My penthouse was dark and quiet, exactly the way I liked it. I stripped out of my ruined clothes, took a scalding shower, and tried to convince myself that the whole thing had been some kind of shock-induced hallucination. Except I couldn't stop thinking about him. About Jax, whoever or whatever he was. About the way his scent had made my omega instincts sing. About that kiss, and the light, and the impossible fact that I'd walked away from an accident that should have killed me. I took my heat suppressant that night like always, swallowed it down with water, and told myself everything was fine. Everything was normal. But when I closed my eyes, all I could see was Jax's face, and all I could feel was the ghost of his lips on mine. Wow, you've made it this far. If you're enjoying the story and still haven't subscribed, please take a second to do so. It means a lot. Also, drop a comment and let us know where you're listening from. All right, let's get back to the story. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls and a message from James that just said, "Turn on the news." I grabbed my phone, pulled up the local news, and there it was. Omega Air survives deadly crash. Miraculous recovery stuns witnesses. There was footage of the accident. Grainy security camera video that showed the truck hitting me, showed my body flying through the air, and then there was a gap. A weird blur in the footage right where Jax had been, like the camera couldn't quite capture him. My father called at 6 a.m. Kai, thank God. Are you all right? Why didn't you call me? I'm fine. Barely a scratch. The lie came easily. My ribs were actually killing me, but I'd learned long ago not to show weakness. The press is going crazy. They're saying it's a miracle. Tyler's been handling the media, but you should come in. Let people see you're all right. Of course Tyler was handling it. Of course this was another opportunity for my father to show off his alpha son. I'll be there in an hour. I showed up to the office in a fresh suit with concealer covering the bruises on my face and enough painkillers in my system to make walking bearable. The lobby was full of reporters, cameras, shouted questions about how I survived, whether I remembered anything, if I believed in divine intervention. I smiled and said something diplomatic about being grateful to be alive, then escaped to my office. James was waiting with coffee and a knowing look. You look like death warmed over. Flattery will get you everywhere. I took the coffee gratefully. What do I need to know? Your father wants you at the press conference at noon. Tyler's been doing interviews all morning, talking about family and miracles and how grateful he is his brother is safe. I bet he was. Nothing like a near-death experience to make the competition look sympathetic. Fine, what else? There's someone here to see you. Wouldn't give a name, just said it was urgent and personal. James hesitated. He's very insistent and very attractive. Alpha. My heart did something strange. Send him in. Jax walked into my office like he owned it, all confidence and predatory grace. In daylight, he was even more striking. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing all black like he was going to a funeral. His scent hit me immediately, making my omega instincts flare to life despite the suppressants. Up close, I could see details I'd missed in the darkness. The sharp line of his jaw, the fullness of his lower lip, the way his dark eyes seemed to see straight through me. "Mr. Chen," he said, and his voice was exactly as I remembered. Deep, smooth, dangerous. "We need to talk." "About how you saved my life?" I gestured to the chair across from my desk. "Have a seat. I owe you a thank you." He didn't sit. "You need to fire your security team. That accident wasn't an accident." I went very still. "What?" "Someone tampered with that truck's brakes. Someone wanted you dead, Kai, and they'll try again." "How do you know that?" "Because I've been watching you." He said it so casually, like stalking was a normal Tuesday activity. I needed to understand what happened between us, why touching you cost me my powers. "Your powers," I repeated slowly. "Right. Because you're what exactly? Some kind of superhero?" His smile was sharp and humorless. "Demon, actually. 200 years old, give or take a decade. I make deals, collect souls, the usual infernal business. Or I did, until I kissed you and my powers transferred to you instead. I should have called security, should have had him escorted out, but there was something in his eyes, something honest and desperate that made me believe him. And besides, I'd seen him move last night. I'd felt that electricity. I'd survived something impossible. "Prove it," I said. He held out his hand. "Touch me." I stood, walked around the desk, and placed my hand in his. The moment our skin connected, I felt it. Power, raw and electric, racing up my arm and spreading through my whole body. The lights in my office flickered, my computer screen glitched, and I could feel it. Something vast and ancient and utterly foreign inside me. I pulled away, stumbling back. "What the hell?" "My powers," Jack said quietly. "Somehow, when I saved your life, they transferred to you. I've been a demon for 2 centuries, and I've never heard of anything like this." "This is insane." "Yes." "You're telling me I have demon powers now?" "Not all of them, but enough to be dangerous if you don't learn to control them." He stepped closer, and I fought the urge to back away. "And enough to make you a target. If the wrong people find out what you are now, they'll kill you to get to that power." "So what do you want from me?" "I want my powers back. But until we figure out how to reverse this, I need to stay close to you, protect you, and teach you how to control what you've taken from me." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "You want to be my bodyguard?" "I want to survive. Right now, I'm mortal. Completely, terrifyingly mortal. If someone tries to kill you again and succeeds, I lose any chance of getting my powers back. So yes, I'm going to stay close, whether you like it or not." I should have said no. Should have kicked him out and pretended this whole thing was a stress-induced breakdown. But I'd spent 28 years being rational and controlled, and where had it gotten me? Passed over for a promotion I'd earned, nearly killed by a truck, and now apparently hosting demonic powers I didn't understand. "Fine," I said, "but we do this my way. You want to protect me, you do it properly, which means we need a cover story." "What kind of cover story?" An idea was forming, terrible and brilliant and absolutely reckless. My father wants me bonded. The board wants me bonded. Everyone in my life has been pushing me to find an alpha and settle down. I looked at Jax, really looked at him. Devastatingly handsome, obviously powerful. Exactly the kind of alpha that would make my father's matchmaking attempts look pathetic by comparison. So let's give them what they want. You want me to pretend to court you. I want you to pretend to be my alpha. Publicly. We'll say we met months ago, that we've been keeping it quiet, that the accident made me realize life's too short to hide what I want. It gives you access to me 24/7. It gets my father off my back, and it makes anyone trying to kill me think twice, because attacking the omega of a powerful alpha is a death sentence. Jack stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You want to fake a relationship. I want a mutually beneficial arrangement. You protect me, teach me to control these powers, and get your abilities back. I get protection from whoever's trying to kill me and some breathing room from my family. Everyone wins. And when they expect us to bond, to mate? Heat crept up my neck, but I kept my voice steady. We'll figure that out if we get there. For now, we just need to be convincing enough that no one questions it. Can you do that? Something shifted in his expression. Interest, maybe. Or calculation. I've been alive for 200 years, Kai. I'm very good at pretending. Then we have a deal. He extended his hand, and this time when I took it, I was ready for the jolt of power. Deal. But there's one condition. What? If someone tries to kill you again, you let me handle it my way. No rules, no morality, no human hesitation. I will end them. Permanently. The threat should have scared me. Instead, it sent a shiver of something else down my spine. Something that felt dangerously like anticipation. Fine. But try not to leave bodies where my PR team has to explain them. His smile was all teeth. I'll do my best. That afternoon, I called my father into my office. Tyler came too, because of course he did. They sat across from me looking concerned and supportive, and completely convinced I was still too shaken from the accident to think clearly. I wanted to tell you both something important, I said, keeping my voice calm and professional. I've been seeing someone, an alpha. It's been quiet, private. But after yesterday, after almost dying, I realized I don't want to hide anymore. My father's expression shifted from concern to interest so fast it was almost funny. You're courting someone? Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to be sure. But I'm sure now. His name is Jax Cross. He owns a private security firm, very successful, very discreet. I'd like you to meet him. Of course. My father was practically vibrating with excitement. An Omega son with a successful alpha mate would be almost as good as an alpha heir for his political maneuvering. When? Tonight. Dinner at the house. I'll bring him by around 7. Tyler hadn't said anything, just watched me with those calculating eyes. This is sudden, he said finally. After the accident. The accident made me realize life's too short to wait for the perfect moment. I met his gaze steadily. I'm happy, Tyler. I'd appreciate your support. Of course you have my support. His smile didn't reach his eyes. I'm glad you found someone. I look forward to meeting him. After they left, James poked his head in. You're insane. Probably. Where is this mysterious alpha anyway? As if on cue, my office door opened and Jax walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might need this, he said, setting one on my desk, then, loud enough for James to hear, Sorry it took so long. Your building security is thorough. James's eyes went wide. He looked at Jax, then at me, then back at Jax. You're the alpha? Jax Cross. Jax extended his hand with a smile that was perfectly charming and completely fake. Nice to meet you. James shook his hand, still staring. After he left, I turned to Jax. Where did you get coffee? There's a shop on the corner. I'm mortal now, remember? I get hungry and thirsty like a real person. It's deeply annoying. He took a sip of his coffee, made a face. This is terrible. How do humans drink this? With practice. I tried mine. It was actually pretty good. We have dinner with my father tonight, 7 o'clock. Can you handle playing the devoted alpha for a few hours? I played human for 2 centuries. I think I can manage 1 dinner. He settled into the chair across from my desk, all casual grace. Tell me about your family. What do I need to know? I filled him in on the basics. My father, the CEO, Marcus, the Omega stepfather, Tyler, the golden child alpha who was being groomed to take over. The complicated politics of a company worth billions and a family that measured worth in designation and profitability. And they don't know someone tried to kill you? Jax said. No one knows except you. I want to keep it that way. Why? Because if someone in my company is trying to kill me, I need to figure out who before they try again. And I can't do that if everyone's on high alert. I leaned back in my chair, studying him. You said you've been watching me. What else did you see? Enough to know you're brilliant and ruthless and completely wasted in a company that will never let you lead it. His dark eyes were serious. Enough to know that whoever wants you dead is desperate. The truck driver was compelled, his mind completely overridden. That kind of control takes serious power. Another demon? Maybe. Or a witch. Or something else entirely. He set down his coffee. The supernatural world isn't as simple as demons and angels, Kai. There are dozens of species, hundreds of powers, and most of them would kill to get their hands on what you're carrying now. The weight of what I'd stumbled into was starting to sink in. How do I control it? The power. Practice. Focus. And probably a lot of property damage while you learn. He stood, moved around the desk to stand beside me. Give me your hand. I did, and the power flared immediately. The lights flickered again. What am I supposed to do? Feel it. Don't fight it. Don't try to control it yet. Just feel where it sits inside you. I closed my eyes, trying to focus past the sensation of his skin on mine, past the way his scent made my head fuzzy. The power was there, humming under my ribs, foreign and vast and terrifying. I feel it. Good. Now pull it back. Imagine drawing it into yourself, containing it. I tried. The light stopped flickering, but I could still feel it, coiled and restless. How long did it take you to learn to control this? Decades. But I was human when I started. You're an Omega, which means you're already used to managing biological imperatives. You'll learn faster than I did. I opened my eyes, found him watching me with an expression I couldn't read. You keep saying that, like, being an Omega is an advantage. It is. Omegas are survivors. You're adaptable, resilient, stronger than anyone gives you credit for. That's why you're still alive when you should be dead. Something in my chest tightened at the casual way he said it, like it was obvious, like my strength was a fact instead of something I had to prove over and over again. Thank you, I said quietly, for saving my life. Thank you for stealing my powers and making me mortal. His smile was wry. We're even. That night, I brought Jax home to meet my family. The Chen estate was in Medina, all glass and steel and carefully landscaped gardens. My father's idea of subtle wealth. Jax pulled up in a black Mercedes that probably cost more than my first car, dressed in a charcoal suit that made him look like he'd stepped out of a magazine. "Ready?" he asked as we sat in the driveway. "Are you?" He leaned over, and for a second I thought he was going to kiss me. Instead, he pressed his lips to my temple, a gesture so gentle it made my breath catch. "I've negotiated with gods and won. I think I can handle your father." My father was waiting in the formal living room with Marcus and Tyler. Marcus was lovely as always, an omega in his early 40s who'd kept his beauty through careful maintenance and good genes. Tyler stood beside him, tall and commanding in that effortless alpha way I'd always envied. Father, Marcus, Tyler. I kept my hand on Jax's arm, the perfect picture of an omega with his alpha. "This is Jax Cross." Jax shook hands with military precision, his alpha pheromones perfectly calibrated to show strength without challenging my father's authority. "Mr. Chen, it's an honor to meet you. Kai's told me so much about you." "All good things, I hope." My father was already charmed. I could see it in the way he relaxed, the way he smiled. "Please, sit. Tell me about yourself, Jax. Kai mentioned you run a security firm?" "Among other things, I have investments in several industries, but security is my primary focus. It seemed appropriate given how dangerous the world has become." Dinner was a carefully choreographed dance. Jax played his role perfectly, attentive without being possessive, respectful of my father while making it clear he considered me his equal. He told stories that were probably fabricated but sounded convincing. He asked Marcus about his charity work. He even managed to engage Tyler in a conversation about business strategy that didn't feel threatening. And through it all, he kept touching me. Small things, casual things that no one would question. A hand on my lower back when we walked to the dining room. His fingers brushing mine when he handed me a wine glass. His knee pressing against mine under the table. Each touch sent that jolt of power through me, and I was starting to understand it wasn't just the demon abilities. It was him. My omega instincts were responding to him in a way they never had to anyone else, and the power transfer was making it worse. "So," my father said over dessert, "how did you two meet?" Jax and I had rehearsed this. "A charity gala 6 months ago," I said smoothly. "The one for arts education. Jax was there representing one of his investment partners." "You were wearing blue," Jax added, looking at me like the memory was precious. "I saw you across the room and knew I had to talk to you." "And I thought you were presumptuous and arrogant," I said, letting some real feeling into it because part of that was true. "You still think I'm arrogant?" "Yes, but now I find it charming." My father laughed, delighted. "Young love. Marcus, do you remember when we first met?" Marcus smiled, that soft omega smile that had probably captured my father's heart. "You were insufferable. I almost said no when you asked me to bond." "But you didn't," my father said, taking Marcus's hand. Then he looked at Jax. "What are your intentions toward my son?" Here it was, the question I'd been dreading. Jax didn't hesitate. "I intend to bond with him, with his permission and blessing. Kai is extraordinary, Mr. Chen. Brilliant, strong, more capable than anyone I've ever met. I'd be honored to spend my life supporting his ambitions." The words were probably lies, had to be lies, but they sounded so sincere that something in my chest ached hearing them. My father's smile could have lit the room. "Then you have my blessing. Welcome to the family, Jax." After dinner, Jax walked me to my car. We were alone in the driveway, the night air cool against my skin. "That went well," I said. "Better than expected. Your father practically started planning the bonding ceremony." He's very excited to finally have me settled. I looked up at him. Thank you for tonight. You were convincing. So were you. He was standing close enough that I could feel the heat of him. Kai, about what I said in there, about bonding with you. My heart was doing something complicated. It's fine. You were playing a role. Was I? His hand came up to cup my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone. You felt it tonight. Every time I touched you, every time we were close. This isn't just about the powers anymore. I should have pulled away. Should have reminded him this was fake, temporary, nothing real. But his scent was everywhere, and my omega instincts were screaming, mate, and I couldn't make myself move. Jax, I whispered. I know. This complicates things. He leaned in, and I thought he might kiss me. Instead, he pressed his forehead to mine. But ignoring it won't make it go away. He was right. Whatever this was between us, it was growing stronger every day, and I had no idea what to do about it. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. Jax moved into my penthouse, took over the guest room, and proceeded to turn my carefully organized life into chaos. He was constantly around, teaching me to control the demon powers, investigating who'd tried to kill me, and playing the role of devoted alpha so convincingly that I started forgetting it was supposed to be fake. He taught me to manipulate the power, to use it for small things, making lights flicker, influencing weak-minded people, sensing supernatural presences. I was terrible at all of it at first, but Jax was patient in a way I hadn't expected. Focus, he'd say, standing behind me with his hands on my shoulders while I tried to make a pen levitate. The power responds to intent. You have to want it. I do want it. No, you're thinking about it. There's a difference. His breath was warm against my ear. Stop trying to control it and just let it flow. The pen lifted 3 inches off my desk before clattering back down. I did it! You did. His hands tightened on my shoulders, pride clear in his voice. You're learning faster than I expected. At work, having Jax around changed everything. Tyler couldn't make snide comments about my lack of alpha with Jax standing beside me, radiating barely contained danger. My father couldn't push me toward other matches when I already had the most eligible alpha in Seattle clearly devoted to me. And Jax was devoted, at least in public. He brought me coffee in the mornings. He sat in on my meetings, silent and intimidating. He picked me up from work every evening like clockwork. He was the perfect alpha, attentive and protective without being controlling. It was also during this time that my heat suppressants started failing. I noticed it on a Tuesday morning, waking up with my skin too warm and my body restless in a way the medication should have been preventing. I took my pill anyway, got dressed, and tried to ignore the way my omega instincts were suddenly hyper-aware of Jax's presence in my apartment. By afternoon, I was struggling. My scent glands were swollen, my body producing slick despite the suppressants, and every time Jax got close, I wanted to climb him like a tree. Kai. His voice cut through my distraction. We were in my home office, supposedly reviewing security footage of my accident. When's the last time you went into heat? I kept my eyes on the screen. I don't go into heat. I take suppressants. How long have you been taking them? Since I presented. 13 years. He was quiet for a long moment. That's dangerous. Suppressants are only supposed to be used for 3 to 5 years maximum. After that, they start losing effectiveness and can cause serious health problems. I'm fine. You're not fine. I can smell it, Kai. Your pheromones are breaking through the blockers. Your body's trying to go into heat, and the medication is fighting it. That's why you've been uncomfortable all week. All week. He'd noticed. Of course he'd noticed. What am I supposed to do? I can't take time off for a heat. The board already thinks I'm weak for being an omega. If I start taking heat leave, they'll use it as another excuse to push me out. Jax turned his chair to face me, his expression serious. You could die, Kai. Prolonged suppression can cause organ failure, infertility, omega drop. Is this company really worth your life? It's not about the company. The words came out sharper than intended. It's about not being weak. It's about not proving them right. Taking care of your body isn't weakness. Easy for you to say. You're an alpha. You don't have to choose between your biology and your career. He stood, moved to kneel in front of my chair so we were eye level. You're right. I don't understand what it's like to be an omega in your world. But I understand what it's like to be trapped by something you can't control. And I'm telling you, as someone who cares about you, you need to stop taking the suppressants. Let your body have a natural heat. I can't. Then let me help you through it. The words hung in the air between us. My heart was racing. Jax, we're not actually together. This is fake. Is it? His hand came up to cup my face. Because it doesn't feel fake when I'm lying awake at night listening to you breathe in the next room. It doesn't feel fake when I want to tear apart anyone who disrespects you. And it definitely doesn't feel fake right now, with your scent calling to every alpha instinct I have left. You're not actually an alpha anymore. You're mortal. I'm mortal with 200 years of alpha experience and a desperate need to make sure you survive this. His thumb brushed my lower lip. Let me take care of you, Kai. Please. I should have said no. Should have held on to my pride and independence and the wall I'd built around my heart. But I was so tired of being strong alone, so tired of pretending I didn't want this, didn't want him. Okay, I whispered. Okay. My heat hit that night. I woke up around 2 a.m., burning, my body slick and desperate and completely out of control. The suppressants had finally failed entirely, and 13 years of denied biology was catching up with me all at once. I tried to handle it alone, the way I'd always handled everything. But within an hour, I was delirious, crying from the pain of cramps that suppressants had prevented for over a decade, my nest a disaster of blankets and Jax's clothes that I'd stolen without meaning to. He found me curled around one of his shirts, sobbing into the fabric. Kai, God, how long have you been like this? Don't know. Hurts. I couldn't form complete thoughts. The heat haze was too strong. He scooped me up like I weighed nothing, carried me to his room where he'd apparently been preparing. The bed was covered in soft blankets. The temperature was perfect, and there was water and food within reach. I've got you, he murmured, settling me into the nest. I'm right here. The next few days were a blur of fever and need and Jax's patient care. He never touched me sexually, never took advantage even when I begged him to. Instead, he held me through the worst of it, scented me when my omega instincts needed it, talked to me when I was lucid enough to listen. Tell me about your mother, he said on the second day, running his fingers through my sweat-damp hair. She was an omega, beautiful, brilliant, wasted on my father. The words came easier in the heat haze without my usual walls. She died when I was 12. Cancer. It took 2 years and she fought the whole time. She told me once that being an omega didn't mean being weak, that I could be anything I wanted if I was brave enough to take it. She sounds remarkable. She was. She would have liked you, I think. She always said I needed someone who wouldn't let me get away with hiding, his hand stilled. Is that what you think I do? You see me, the real me, not the mask I wear for everyone else. It's terrifying. Good terrifying or bad terrifying? I turned in his arms to look at him. Even through the heat haze, he was beautiful. I don't know yet. By the fourth day, my heat was starting to break. I was more lucid, less desperate, able to think past the biological imperative. Jax had barely left my side except to bring food and water. He looked exhausted, his control clearly strained. You should go, I said. Rest. I'm okay now. I'm not leaving you. Jax, you've been awake for 3 days. Even mortal you has limits. He was quiet for a moment. Then, when I was first turned demon, I spent 50 years alone. I made deals, collected souls, and convinced myself I didn't need anyone. Then I met someone, another demon, and for 10 years I thought I'd found something real. But demons don't love, Kai. We possess. We consume. I destroyed him trying to keep him, and I've been alone ever since. I reached out, took his hand. You're not going to destroy me. How do you know? Because you're not trying to possess me. You're taking care of me. There's a difference. He brought my hand to his lips, kissed my knuckles gently. You make me want to be human again. That's dangerous. Good dangerous or bad dangerous? His smile was soft. I don't know yet. When my heat finally broke completely, we had to face reality. I'd been out of the office for 5 days. Jax had been sending updates to James saying I had the flu, but people were starting to ask questions. I need to go back, I said, already dreading it. I know, but Kai, we need to talk about what happens next. What do you mean? He was sitting on the edge of the bed, looking uncharacteristically uncertain. Your heat, us, the way we've been acting, it's not fake anymore. At least not for me. So we need to decide if we're doing this for real or if we stop before someone gets hurt. My heart was pounding. What do you want? I want you. I want this to be real. I want to actually court you, bond with you if you'll have me. But only if that's what you want too. Not because of some demon power transfer or convenient arrangement. I thought about the last month. The way he'd protected me, taught me, cared for me. The way he made me laugh. The way he saw my strength instead of my designation. The way my Omega instincts had been screaming mine since the moment we met. I want it to be real, I said. I'm terrified and this is probably a terrible idea, but I want it to be real. He crossed the room in 2 strides, cupped my face in his hands, and kissed me. Really kissed me, not like that desperate first kiss in the rain, but slow and deep and full of promise. Power flared between us, making the lights flicker, but neither of us pulled away. When we finally broke apart, he was smiling. So we're doing this. We're doing this. But Jax, there's still someone trying to kill me, and we still don't know how to get your powers back. We'll figure it out. Together. He pulled me against his chest, his scent wrapping around me. I'm not going anywhere, Kai. You're stuck with me. Good, I said, because I'm not letting you go either. The next morning, I went back to work with Jax at my side. We walked into the building holding hands, making it clear to everyone that whatever had been building between us was now official. The gossip spread like wildfire, but something was wrong. I could feel it the moment I stepped into my office. The air felt off, charged with something dark and familiar. Jax, I said quietly, He was already alert, his body tense. I feel it too. Someone's been here. Someone supernatural. My computer screen flickered to life even though it was turned off. Words appeared, typed by invisible hands. Stop investigating the accident. Walk away or the next one won't be survivable. Rage flooded through me, hot and sharp. The power inside me responded, surging up without my control. Every electronic device in the room sparked. The windows cracked. My coffee mug shattered. Kai, breathe. Jax's hands were on my shoulders. I know you're angry, but you need to control it. Someone threatened me. In my office. They've been watching me. I know. And we're going to find them. But first you need to calm down before you bring the whole building down. I forced myself to breathe, to pull the power back. It took effort, but eventually the electronics stopped sparking. Who's doing this? I don't know, but they're powerful, and they're escalating. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling in some favors. People I know who might have information. That afternoon, Jax brought someone to meet me, a woman named Sienna, who looked like a grad student but smelled like old magic. Witch, I realized. A powerful one. So you're the Omega who stole a demon's powers, she said, looking me up and down with interest. That's impressive. Stupid, but impressive. It was an accident, I said. Accidents like that don't happen. You two have a connection, something beyond the normal demon-human dynamic. She pulled out what looked like a crystal. May I? I nodded, and she pressed the crystal to my forehead. It glowed, bright and pulsing, and images flooded my mind. Jax and me, but different. Centuries ago, different lives, different names. Always finding each other, always torn apart. Soulmates, Sienna said, pulling the crystal away. You've been bound across multiple lifetimes. That's why the power transferred so easily. Your souls recognized each other. I looked at Jax, who looked as stunned as I felt. We've met before? Many times, according to this, and every time, something tears you apart. Death, duty, destiny. Sienna tucked the crystal away. This lifetime might be your last chance to get it right. And the person trying to kill Kai? Jax asked. Probably someone who knows what you are. Someone who either wants to prevent your bonding or wants to steal the power you're carrying. She looked at me seriously. You need to complete the bond. It's the only way to stabilize the power and make it harder for someone to take it from you. Complete the bond, I repeated. You mean actually bond with Jax. Not fake, not pretend. The real thing. The real thing. Mating bite, the whole deal. It'll lock the power between you, make it impossible to steal without killing you both. After Sienna left, Jax and I sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, I said, Soulmates. That's a lot. It explains why I can't stop thinking about you. Why the idea of you being hurt makes me want to burn the world down. Jax, if we do this, if we actually bond, there's no going back. You'll be tied to me forever. I know. He took my hands. And that doesn't scare me. What scares me is losing you. What scares me is watching someone hurt you and not being able to protect you. My heat's over. We'd have to wait another 3 months. Or we induce one. He said it carefully. With your permission, with proper preparation, we could trigger a heat, bond during it, make this official. I should have needed time to think, should have wanted to be cautious and rational, But I'd spent my whole life being careful, and where had it gotten me? Nearly killed, passed over, constantly proving myself to people who would never value me. "Let's do it," I said. "Let's bond for real." We spent 2 days preparing. Jax made sure my penthouse was secure, called in more supernatural favors for protection wards. I met with my lawyer to update my will, just in case. I told James I was taking a week off for personal reasons, and his knowing smile said he understood exactly what kind of personal reasons. On the 3rd day, Jax kissed me deep enough to trigger my heat. It hit fast, my body recognizing him as mate and responding accordingly. But this time was different. This time I wasn't alone and scared. This time I had Jax, and he knew exactly what I needed. He scented me thoroughly, his alpha pheromones mixing with my omega ones, until we smelled like a perfectly matched pair. He built my nest exactly how I liked it, all soft blankets and his clothes and pillows that smelled like us. And when I was delirious with need, when my body was begging for his, he finally gave me what I'd been craving. The first time he touched me intimately, power exploded between us. The windows didn't just crack, they shattered. Every light in the penthouse blew out. Somewhere in the city, the power grid flickered. "Too much," I gasped. "No." His voice was rough with desire and something deeper. "It's perfect. You're perfect." He kissed my bonding gland, the spot on my neck that would bear his mark. "Are you sure about this?" "Yes. Jax, please. Make me yours." He bit down at the exact moment he nodded me, and the world exploded. The bond snapped into place, fierce and permanent and absolutely right. I could feel him, his emotions, his fierce protectiveness, his overwhelming love. And he could feel me, every wall I'd built, every fear I'd hidden, every desperate wish for someone to see me and stay. When he pulled back, his bite mark gleaming on my neck, he whispered, "I love you. I've loved you in every lifetime, and I'll love you in every one to come." I pulled him down for a kiss, pouring everything I felt into it. "I love you too, even if you did steal my carefully planned life and turn it into chaos." Our carefully planned life now. "You're stuck with me, Omega." "Good, because I'm not letting you go, Alpha." We spent 3 days lost in the bond and the heat, learning each other, cementing our connection. And when it was finally over, when I could think clearly again, I had Jax's mark on my neck and his ring on my finger and a bone-deep certainty that I'd finally found where I belonged. But we still had problems to solve. Someone had tried to kill me. Jax's powers were still split between us, and my family still expected me to fail. The first hint of who was behind the attempts on my life came a week after we bonded. Jax had been investigating, using his contacts in the supernatural community, and he finally got a lead. "It's Tyler," he said, his expression grim. "Your brother hired a dark witch to kill you and make it look like an accident." I felt like I'd been punched. "Tyler? Are you sure?" "Completely. The witch confessed after some persuasion. Apparently Tyler's been worried you'd change your mind about stepping aside. He wanted to make sure the company would be his." Rage burned through me, but it was cold now, controlled. Did my father know? No. This was all Tyler. He acted alone. I thought about my brother, the golden child who'd never had to work as hard as me, never had to prove himself. And he'd tried to kill me over a company. What do we do? That's up to you. I can make him disappear permanently. The offer was sincere, and part of me wanted to take it, but I was better than that. No, we do this the right way. We gather evidence, expose him, let the law handle it. The law doesn't always work for people like us. Then we make it work. I pulled out my phone, called James. I need you to set up a board meeting, emergency session, tomorrow morning. Everyone needs to be there. The next morning, I walked into the Chen Industries boardroom with Jax at my side and a USB drive full of evidence in my hand. My father, Marcus, Tyler, and 12 board members looked up in surprise. Kai, what's this about? My father asked. It's about attempted murder. I plugged the USB into the presentation system. 3 weeks ago, someone tampered with a delivery truck's brakes, timing it so I'd be in its path. I nearly died, and I've spent the last month investigating who wanted me dead. Tyler had gone very pale. Kai, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the dark witch you hired to kill me. The compulsion spell on the truck driver. The threatening message in my office. I started the presentation showing bank records, surveillance footage, the witch's signed confession. You tried to kill me so the company would be yours. You couldn't beat me fairly, so you tried to eliminate me. The room erupted. My father's face went from shock to rage. Tyler, tell me this isn't true. Tyler stood, and for a moment I thought he might deny it. Instead, his expression hardened. You all saw it. Kai was never going to step aside. He was going to cling to this company forever, an omega trying to do an alpha's job. I was protecting Chen Industries. By murdering your own brother? Marcus's voice was horrified. He's not my brother. He's a rival I needed to eliminate. Jax moved then, faster than anyone could track, the shared power flaring between us as his hand found mine, and suddenly Tyler was pinned against the wall with a hand around his throat. Say that again, Jax said softly, his voice carrying an edge of the demon he'd been. Tell me again that you tried to kill my mate, and see what happens. Jax, I put a hand on his arm. Let him go, he's not worth it. It took visible effort, but Jax released Tyler. He stepped back, positioning himself between me and my brother, and the message was clear. Touch Kai again, and die. My father stood slowly. Tyler, you're fired. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out, and I'm calling the police. You'll face charges for attempted murder. Father, you can't be serious. You tried to kill my son, your brother, over a company. My father's voice was shaking with rage. Get out of my sight. Security took Tyler away. The board members were whispering, shocked, and my father turned to me with tears in his eyes. Kai, I'm so sorry. I never thought. I should have protected you. You should have valued me, I said quietly. You should have seen what I could do instead of what I was. But we can't change the past. No, but I can change the future. He looked at the board. I'm stepping down as CEO, effective in 6 months after a proper transition, and my successor will be Kai Chen. The room went silent. I stared at my father. What? You've earned it. You've proven yourself over and over again, and I was too blind to see it. The company should be yours, Kai. I'm sorry it took nearly losing you for me to realize that. Later that night, back in our penthouse, with the city lights sprawling below us, I stood at the window with Jax's arms around me. I got everything I wanted, I said. the company, my father's respect, proof that I'm good enough. And how do you feel? Emptier than I expected. I spent so long fighting for this, and now that I have it, it doesn't seem as important. He kissed my bonding mark, making me shiver. What's important then? I turned in his arms. This? Us? Making sure no one tries to kill me again? Learning to control these powers. Building a life that's ours, not just what everyone else expects. I can work with that. His hand came up to cut my face. So what's next for us? Well, we still need to figure out how to get your powers back. Actually, I've been thinking about that. Sienna said the powers transferred because our souls are bound. What if they're not supposed to come back? What if this is how it's meant to be? Us sharing them? I considered it. The power felt less foreign now, more like part of me. And having Jax mortal, vulnerable, needing me the way I needed him, there was something right about that. You'd be okay staying human? Mortal? I get to grow old with you, have a normal life, maybe even have kids someday if that's something you want. His smile was soft. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. Kids, I repeated. That's very domestic of you. I've been domestic for weeks. I make you coffee every morning and listen to you rant about board meetings. I'm basically a house husband at this point. I laughed, and it felt good. A house husband demon who occasionally threatens people who disrespect me. It's a living. 6 months later, I stood in front of the Chen Industries building with Jax beside me, preparing for my first day as CEO. I was wearing a suit that cost a fortune, my bonding mark visible at my collar, and I'd never felt more ready for anything in my life. Nervous? Jax asked. Terrified, but in a good way. I looked up at him. Thank you for saving my life, for teaching me I could be more than I thought, for loving me even when I was insufferable. You're still insufferable. I just find it charming now. He kissed me, quick and sweet. Go change the world, Omega. I'll be right here when you're done. I walked into that building with my head high and my heart full. I'd started this journey dying on a rain-soaked street. I'd ended it with a demon mate who loved me, a company that was finally mine, and powers I was still learning to control. I'd spent 28 years trying to prove I was enough. And somewhere along the way, I discovered I'd always been enough. I just needed someone to see it. Jax saw it, and that made all the difference. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the story, tell us your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Until next time.